Hey y'all, Ed with Solomon's Landscape here on this bright, early Saturday morning. A little overcast, a little cloudy, a little cool, and looks like we had some rain overnight as well, and some more in the forecast. So we are mid-March. I think it's March 18th or 19th. Don't ask me, but it's one of those 2 days. And yeah, so I just want to do a quick video and talk about the transition, meaning transition of seasons. Right now we're in and so I know there has been, last week we had a couple of cold nights where it was like below freezing. And of course, that had affected things as well. So when we mow, when we're out there on your property, especially this time of year, because it is in transition, the grass is starting to come out of dormancy. I see, that Bermuda grass there is still brown. And so realistically, it's not going to really start to come out of dormancy until middle of April, May, typically. And so, when it's brown and dormant, there's not really a point. I mean, unless there's, some weeds, if you have a weedy property, or if there's some tall stuff, maybe coming around with a weed eater knocking the tall stuff down, but there really is not a point to go ahead and mow the grass. The reason being is it's just going to stress the grass out on the Bermuda. It's already dormant, so it's not really doing anything other than just rutting up, and adding some pressure to the ground, and it's not necessary. So we only really want to do things that are necessary. The other grass we have is fescue. Obviously, right now is actually it's starting to come out of its or coming down. It's starting to go into dormancy, but it's still growing pretty well. And I know the guys have started cutting that. And we've had a couple of people mention, "Hey, my grass wasn't cut this past week." Well, what happened was, it was cut the previous week, and then we had the cold weather, and so then the grass didn't really grow much of anything. And so then they're like, well, my grass didn't get cut. Well, again, so that, every time we cut the grass, put the lawnmower over it with the mower, with the wheels, with the blades on, that actually stresses the grass out. So our goal is I like to think of us as caretakers of your lawn. And so we want to do what's best for the grass, and for the property itself. So when we're out there, especially in this transition time, we may not always be mowing grass, or if it's another option. I mean, we've gotten a lot of rain, and so sometimes those yards get a little wet. There's times where it's so wet that you can't even walk back there. I know the guys were telling me and reporting back to me about a couple of backyards that were so sopping wet, even a push mower was making tracks, and even just walking in the yard was making tracks. And that's not ideal. That's not really good. That's not, causing issues for the grass, and it's also basically ruining the soil structure by compressing it and getting rid of all that structure. So, and then of course you leave it left with ruts. So again, when we're out there, we are out there weekly, um, and generally speaking, we'll be mowing on a weekly basis. Right now, obviously, because of the transition, Bermuda grass isn't green yet; it hasn't greened up, so there really isn't a need for the grass to be mowed at this point. The fescues, again, this past week was a great example. Previous week, needed to cut everything, but then the cold snap came in, nothing grew, and then realistically, it didn't really need to be cut the following week. So again, I know obviously, some people are getting frustrated saying, "Hey, my yard needs to be cut every week because that's what it says." I understand that. However, we want to make sure we're taking care of your grass as the best. So even if we're at the yard and we're not mowing, we're doing something. We're pulling weeds, we're spraying, we're pruning. So there's a lot that goes into the service. We are a full service company, and so we're making sure that everything's taken care of. And we're going to make sure that your yard's taken care of the way it should be taken care of, and not just mowed just for mowing's sake, and then causing issues with ruts because of the rain, or stressing it out because of undue or unnecessary mowings, things of that nature. So again, obviously if there's questions and concerns, but that's one of the things that is happening, especially right now with the transition. Not every week will be necessary to mow, because of that. So if they're out there, and you don't notice that they're mowing, no, more than likely it's because the grass doesn't need it. And if the grass doesn't need it, then there's not a good reason for us to mow the grass. But again, however, we're also taking care of everything else, making sure that things look good. So again, I just hope that helps. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, feel free to reach out to me, and let us know. And I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.